Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I welcome you to the lecture 16. We are going through the chapter number 4, Sensation, Attention and Perception. And the topic which we are going to read today is the structure or anatomy of ear and the hearing process. So let's begin our topic. Structure of ear. Ear is basically divided into three basic parts: the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. Okay? The external part of the ear is the outer ear. This is the middle part, the middle ear, and the inner ear. So let's discuss these parts in detail. The outer ear. Okay, it is the most visible part. It is actually the visible part of the ear. The basic function of this part is to collect the sound waves and transmit them forward to the middle ear and then to the inner ear. This outer ear or this outer part is also known as collector because it collects the sound waves and transfer these sound waves, these vibrations forward. Okay. The outer ear is divided into three parts. The first part is the pinna. Okay. Pinna is actually made up of soft bone. This is the visible part of the ear. The pinna is convoluted and this convolution serves two purposes. Number one, dirt, water, or any other material or substance cannot enter due to these convolutions. And the second purpose of these convolutions is that it gathers maximum sounds and transmit them inside. Okay, so the outermost part is the pinna. It is a convoluted part. It is the visible part of the ear. The next part of outer ear is the auditory canal. Actually, the auditory canal is 1.5 inch long tube. This is the auditory canal. Okay, it is 1.5 inch long tube and it secretes a substance called earwax. So what is the purpose of earwax? Earwax keeps the auditory canal wet and soft. Apart from this earwax, auditory canal also contains tiny hairs and the dust particles stuck in these hair and can be removed easily. So the earwax keeps the ear fit and these thin hair protect it. Okay. Next is the tympanic membrane. At the end of the auditory canal, there lies a thin, delicate membrane known as eardrum. Okay. This is the tympanic membrane or the eardrum. This delicate organ actually begins to vibrate at a slight vibration, at a slight touch of sound waves. And its size is actually equal to the thickness of auditory pen, an ordinary pencil. Okay. Next is the inner middle ear. Okay, this part begins at the front of eardrum. There is located a cavity between the outer and inner ear. This cavity is in fact the middle ear. Okay, this cavity is actually the middle ear in front of the eardrum. This cavity or this portion is also named as transformer because it carries message from the outer ear to the inner ear. Okay, the outermost part is the collector. Outer ear is the collector. The middle ear is known as transformer. Okay, outer ear collects the sound waves and then the middle ear transforms those sound waves to the inner ear for further processing. Okay, so middle ear is divided into different parts. Number one, ossicles. This part actually consists of three bones which are interconnected. The names of these three bones are hammer, anvil, and the stirrup. Okay. The first of these three is the hammer or the hammer bone that is connected to the eardrum at one end and to the anvil bone at the other end. This hammer is connected to the eardrum from one end and to the other bone, that is the anvil, to the other end. The upper end of anvil bone is attached to the hammer bone and the other lower end is attached to the stirrup. Okay. At one end, the stirrup bone is attached to the anvil bone and at the other to the oval window. Okay. So the third bone, stirrup, is attached to the anvil bone at one end and at the other side there is oval window. Thus, the stirrup bone transfers the whole pressure of sound waves coming from the outside to the oval window. So, pinna collects the sound waves. These are carried through the auditory canal to the eardrum and then to the inner middle ear. These three bones are specialized: hammer, anvil, and stirrup. And the names are according to their shape. These are also known as malleus, incus, and stapes. Eustachian tube. Okay. A tube extends from the middle ear to the throat, and it is the Eustachian tube. Its basic function is actually to equalize air pressure on either side of the eardrum. The increase or decrease in air pressure on either side of the eardrum can cause damage to it. Okay, so this Eustachian tube has a function of equalizing the pressure, the air pressure, so that eardrum is not damaged. If a very loud sound strikes the ear, these sound waves traveling through the Eustachian tube go out of the throat. Okay, this is a very sensitive phenomenon. Thus, the eardrum escapes damage because of this. Otherwise, this loud sound can bring about too much of vibration in the eardrum and it can be damaged. Normally, air through the Eustachian tube exerts pressure on the eardrum from within so that the eardrum maintains its position. Okay, so the basic purpose of Eustachian tube is to equalize the air pressure. Next is the oval window. This part of the middle ear is connected through the oval window to the inner ear. Okay, the oval window lies next to the stirrup bone. When the stirrup bone vibrates, the sound waves enter the inner ear through the oval window. Okay, so the sound waves enter the inner ear from middle ear to inner ear via oval window, this part. And the last, this stirrup bone is attached from one side with the oval window. The sound waves are transformed in the middle ear and then sent to the inner ear through the oval window. Okay. Next is the inner ear. Okay, the inner ear is actually the most sensitive part of the ear and it is also called converter. The outer ear is the collector, the middle ear is the transformer, and the inner ear is the converter or receiver. This part lies next to the oval window. Okay. It contains different receptor cells. The sound waves received in this part are conveyed through a very complex system to the temporal lobe of the brain, where auditory sensation is produced. Okay. The inner ear has the following parts. Number one, the semicircular canals. Okay, these are actually three in number. The semicircular canals These canals are three in number. Two of them are horizontal and one is vertical. Okay, you can see it in the diagram also. These canals are actually filled with a fluid that helps a person to maintain balance. And they are not actually directly related to the hearing process. When a person moves, the fluid in these canals begins to gather at one side. And this makes a person feel imbalanced and he immediately recovers his balance. A person feels dizzy when the fluid in these canals moves rapidly or improperly. So, semicircular canals contain a fluid which is responsible for balance of the body. The next part is the vestibule. Cochlea. It consists of three tubes: the cochlear canal, the vestibular canal, and the tympanic canal. The oval window, as we read earlier, the oval window of the middle ear is in fact located in this cochlea part. And cochlea also contains a hole which is known as the round window. Okay. A sort of soft membrane is located between cochlear and vestibular canals. The membrane lying between the vestibular canal and the eardrum is the basilar membrane, and the organs of corti are located above it. These organs are in fact hair cells, and experts believe these hair cells are the real auditory receptors, and they are further covered in the tectorial membrane. All these tubes are filled with the fluid, and this fluid contains small particles and ear stones that facilitate the hearing process. Okay. Next is the auditory nerve. The auditory nerve is attached to the end of cochlea. The auditory nerve receives sound waves from cochlea and carries them to the auditory area where sound waves are detected and the hearing process is then completed. Okay. Blood vessels, a large blood vessel from the inside of ear is attached to the cochlea to supply blood to the ear. This large blood vessel, as it extends, is subdivided into countless small vessels so that blood is supplied to the whole ear. Okay, so this was the structure of ear. Ear is divided into outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. Outer ear is the collector. Pinna collects the sound waves, then they move from the auditory canal to the tympanic membrane. Then there is middle ear. Middle ear is composed of three bones, and at the end of these bones is the oval window. From oval window, the inner ear starts. The sound waves are moved there, and then from there to from with the help of this auditory nerve, the message is carried to the temporal lobe of the brain for further processing. Okay. Now we will discuss how we hear. We are going to discuss the hearing process. As we have read earlier, when the outer ear, having gathered the sound waves, it sends them to the middle ear and the eardrum vibrates. Message or these sound waves are carried from pinna to the auditory canal to the middle ear, and then because of these sound waves the eardrum vibrates. It results in the stimulation of bones attached to the eardrum, the three bones of the middle ear. The oval window carries to the inner ear the waves which are generated by the stimulation of these bones of the middle ear. This vibration is actually further transmitted to the cochlea. Then the stimulation of cochlea sets up vibration in the organ of corti where the nerve fibers related to these receptors are stimulated, and these neural impulses reach the auditory area of the brain, that is the temporal lobe, where auditory sensation is produced. Okay? Locating sound. The ear captures different sounds during this process. There are so many sort of voices, sounds which the ear senses. And during this process, it has to know which direction the sound waves are coming from. This is very important. It has to gather information about the environment as well. The perception of sound is completed with the loudness, pitch, timbre, and quality of the sound. Okay. A better understanding of the situation involves locating the sound source from where the sound is coming. The finding out of the sound direction is known as locating sound, because at the same time the ear is receiving so many auditory sensations, and now the basic purpose is, or the basic task is, to locate from which direction the sound is coming so that the ear or the whole body respond towards that accordingly. If the sound source is opposite to the listener, both ears receive the equal amount of sound. Okay? If the sound source is opposite to the listener, both ears will work automatically and they will receive equal amount of information, equal amount of sound. When we can also locate sound through visual sensation as well. Okay? We can also uh, locate the direction by the visual sensation, by seeing the object which is making noise or from where the sound is coming. The sound coming from the left or right side is easy to locate. It is because the sound coming from the right will strike the right ear first and then reach the other ear. So, apart from this, the intensity of sound will also decrease a bit. That's why the sound coming from right and left is easy to detect. Because of this slight difference in time and intensity, it becomes easier to locate sound and we know whether the sound is coming from the right or the left side. Okay, if the sound source is behind, above, or we can say below us, then the sound will strike both ears simultaneously, and more probably the sound source will be out of sight. Okay, thus the locating of sound becomes difficult when it is coming from above, below, or behind us. In this case, we manage to locate the sound by turning the head towards that direction. Okay, because of the difference that the turning of head produces in the sound reaching the right or the left ear, it becomes easier to locate the sound, to locate the direction of sound. Okay, so locating the sound is also a phenomenon hearing process. We can locate the sound by moving our head, or we can locate the sound with the help of visual sensation as well. And when the sound is coming from right or left, it is easy to locate as compared to the sound coming from behind, above, or below a person. This locating of sound facilitates us also. It makes our life easy and peaceful. For example, we recognize the horn or a phone bell, um, and the voice of any of our friend coming from a short or long distance, and then we move towards that source. So this locating of sound facilitates us. Otherwise, if we don't have this capacity, There will be bombardment of sensations, haphazard bombardment of sensations, and we will be unable to hear things properly and respond properly. Besides hearing, ear also helps to maintain body balance. As we have read in the structure of ear, that the semicircular canals contain fluid which helps in balance of the body. And the imbalance of the fluid brings imbalance to the body posture, body gait, body movement. Another factor is the pleasurable life. Hearing also plays a very important role in our perception. It allows us, or it gives us the opportunity to enjoy music and the pleasing sounds around us. So, hearing is also a very important sensation along with the visual sensations, because this hearing process or this hearing phenomena gives us a pleasurable life. It facilitates us. We are able to hear so many good things, and this brings pleasure and peace to our lives. So, dear students, today we read about the anatomy of ear and the hearing process. Hope the topic is clear. We'll be coming with the next lecture. Till then, take care and Allah Hafiz.